All right, I see the Zoom room is filling up. Welcome to Coffee Hour. We will be getting started in just a couple minutes, shooting for the 9:02 Eastern Time hour. Let everybody get in here, get their coffee, get all set for our conversation with Kerry McCoy. If you're joining us on Zoom, go ahead and open up that chat box and let us know who you are and where you're zooming in from this morning. If you are watching on Facebook Live, you can do the same in the comments. Today's session is being closed captioned. They are available by clicking on the bottom of your Zoom screen, closed captions, and then the show subtitles button. And you will be able to get your live transcript of today's program. All right, Katie Dunn, Central New Jersey, tuning in. Jeff Zadowski from Plano, Texas. We got Dave Lucas from the pizza capital of the world up there in Old Forge, Pennsylvania. Good morning, Dave. There is the link in the chat for closed captioning. If you want to customize your closed caption view, you can do that by clicking on the stream text link there in the chat as well. Really excited about today's guest. Two-time Olympian Kerry McCoy joining us for our coffee hour conversation. I see Dave Lucas dropped his class year, class of 96, in the chat box, and you were on campus at the time of our guest. And Grant Crampton, Arlington, Virginia, he writes he was a wrestling team study hall math tutor when Kerry was there. Great to see him again. Thank you for tuning in, Grant. Always good to see your name. We will be getting started in just a minute. Welcome to Coffee Hour. Again, if you're just joining us, let us know who you are, where you're from, and your Penn State class year. Maybe your favorite memory of Kerry McCoy showing someone the lights in Rec Hall. We'll get started in just a minute. Where else would you rather be than a Zoom full of Penn Staters? I'm Paul Clifford, CEO of the Penn State Alumni Association, and welcome to the Alumni Association's Coffee Hour. Each week on Coffee Hour, you can expect to hear the voices of Penn Staters talking about what they're passionate about, and you can expect to feel the pride and the power of the Penn State network. As I mentioned, live closed captions are available for this event. You can access them by clicking the closed caption button at the bottom of your Zoom video window, and then clicking show subtitle. You can also customize your caption view by using the link that's in the chat. Our stream text link will allow you to customize your caption view. We are recording this session as always, and we will be sharing it with other Penn Staters for inspiration. And inspiration is the right word today for our guest. We are going to talk with Penn State wrestling great and the director and head coach of the California Olympic Regional Training Center, Kerry McCoy. As I mentioned, Kerry is a two-time US Olympian, the 2008 Olympic coach, and two-time national champion. He was the head wrestling coach at the University of Maryland and at Stanford, as well as an assistant coach at Lehigh and right here at his alma mater at Penn State. Kerry serves as the vice president of the Black Wrestling Association, as well as secretary of USA Wrestling's board of directors. He has also served on both the US Olympic and Paralympic Committee and the US Wrestling's Athlete Advisory Committee. In 2014, he was inducted into the National Wrestling Hall of Fame, and in 2018, Penn State named him a distinguished alumnus. I am excited to welcome Kerry McCoy to Coffee Hour. Good morning, Kerry.
Paul, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I'm excited that you're here too. You've just recently moved to California. It's an early morning out there, 6:04 Pacific time. We're so grateful that you've woke up to talk with fellow Penn Staters and talk about your time at Penn State. So let's start right at the very beginning. Grew up on Long Island. How did you become a Penn State Nittany Lion?
Yeah, it's actually a pretty cool story. So I'll give the shortened version because anybody knows me says, I'll talk your ear off if you let me. But the short version, I had a friend who went to my rival high school, and he was being recruited by Penn State. Another Penn State great, Dan Mayo, had wrestled for the same high school. So he had been a Penn State fan forever, watching Dan grow up and wrestling, go on to wrestle at Penn State. So he was ready to go. So Penn State coaches were recruiting him. They were interested in him, and they were going to come watch our rival duel. And so he said, "Hey, when you come here, keep an eye on this, this Kerry McCoy kid. He's a great wrestler, great friend." And I thought his focus was we were on the opposing sides for so long that he wanted an opportunity for us to be teammates. And we had been on teams together for the state teams and national teams. But as far as, our high school teams were always rivals. So that's kind of how the door was open. And then I guess I would assume that Penn State had a little bit of an idea about me, but he really pushed the envelope, and they came to watch him. They saw me, and that's kind of how it started. But I'll be honest, I had no concept of Penn State. In New York, all the state schools are small schools. Athletics are mostly D3 athletics. They're small, couple hundred, maybe a couple thousand people. So embarrassing enough, that's what I thought Penn State was. I thought it was just kind of a small rural, little small rinky-dink college. So I had no concept, literally. And I tell people all the time, I had a job. I was working at a sporting goods store, and I was working on a Saturday, and it was back. Penn State played Cincinnati in football. I think they beat them like 81-0.
Yeah.
And I was like, there's no way that, big time college athletics, has teams that beat other teams 81-0. I thought it was just kind of like, so really had no clue, but fast forward, a lot of things happened, went on. And ultimately what it came down to is I went to visit a lot of other schools. And when I went to my visit to Penn State, it was simply, I felt at home. I didn't feel like I was on a recruiting trip. I felt like that's where I belonged. The guys on the team, and I had, and I hate to say it, but I had planned on going to Michigan. That was, I had grown up kind of following the Michigan team, and I really liked their football helmets, and their basketball team had won the national championship a few years. So they were pretty hot, and I'd followed them. Again, had no idea the level of Penn State, but so on my visit, I was telling the guys, I'm thinking of going to Michigan, and they were like, yeah, just, we'll see you in the fall. And they knew better because that's where I ended up. So that's a short version.
Absolutely. Yeah, Michigan was hot. I mean, you and I graduated around the same time from college, and Michigan was hot at that point. It was just a year or two before the Fab Five, and so they were certainly recognizable. At least somebody growing up on Long Island might not have that awareness of Penn State, but certainly you got here. You came on campus in 1992. You cracked the lineup as a 190 pounder. And you finished the season as a national qualifier. Now, forgive me for bringing this up because I don't want to focus on this part of it, but your overall record at Penn State was something like 150-18. But after that first year, after that 92-93 season, you only lost once. What was the difference between 92-93 and then the rest of your time at Penn State? What was that hump that you had to get over at the end of your freshman year?
Yeah. And the first thing is, I believe I'm a very faithful person, and God has put some great people in my life, coaches, mentors, workout partners. And I really attribute that to everything. I couldn't do it without him. After my freshman year, and I say this, and, when I look back on it, it's kind of, I don't know, counterintuitive to what a lot of stuff says these days, but I hated losing. right? So I hated losing more than I liked winning. So after my freshman year, I had that, that kind of epiphany moment, like I need to do something different. Not that I wasn't working hard, not that I wasn't committed, but I call it my man in the moon moment, right? So back in the 60s when, there was a race to get to the moon and, United States, hey, we're going to put someone on the moon. And most people probably thinking, what, this is crazy. Like no one does. That's impossible, not possible, not going to do it. Why would you want to do that? And so my man in the moon moment was after that year, I said, I'm never going to lose again. And when I say it's counterintuitive, because a lot of times, when you talk about goal setting and performance, it's, positive, right? I'm going to go out and give my best and work hard and, all those things and win every time. Well, but it was, for me, it was just like, I said, I'm never going to lose another match. And that was a big statement. And I let everybody know, being 19 and 17 as a freshman, and then coming back and saying, you're never going to lose again. I mean, that took big steps. That took big heart. And so one, setting that idea. And then, like I said, relying on the people that are around me, my coaches, my workout partners, my support network. And, not just setting the goal, but doing everything I could on a daily basis to achieve that goal. So, I trained, I took a little bit of time off after the NCAA tournament, but I trained, 6 days a week. I competed in 7 tournaments that summer. I went to the training center in Colorado Springs a couple times. And, it was just nonstop focusing on trying to get to that goal. And then that's what it was throughout my next few years. And, I fell a little bit short. I ended up being, one loss over the next 3 years. But, that's what you say, when you have those big goals, you have those big dreams, if you fall short, you're going to be in a pretty good place. And, being 131-1 after 3 years and winning 2 national titles, and, it's a pretty good place to be. And, we always think about the one that we didn't get, but I'm so blessed and fortunate that, I had the people around me to help me get to where I was. And, the most important thing that was through that journey, even my freshman year when I was losing, and the thing that I talk about, what really made my Penn State experience so great is every time, whether it was a loss, a bad performance, I always had someone, whether it was a coach or a teammate, some of the donors, some of the booster clubs, supporters, I always had someone come in that was going to lift me up. Hey, you'll get them next year. Hey, don't worry about it. Keep your head up. I'll help you. Let's go to practice. Let's work on this. And so I was constantly surrounded by people that were lifting me up. And I think that's a really important part of success, is you got to have people around you that are going to lift you up. In our society, it's always easy to, kind of pull people down. And I know sometimes I'm a sarcastic person, so I goof around a lot, but knowing that you have people around you that really care about your success and they're going to do what they need to do to help you is something that's really important. And I definitely got that at Penn State.
Who were some of those people for you at Penn State?
So my coaches, obviously John Fritz and Hashiro Ishii, they were there from start to finish. My teammates and roommate, my one roommate, Frank Marici, we were in the same class. Matt Hardy was one of my other roommates. Matt was kind of, he was the reality checker. He would never let anybody get to, it wouldn't be, I could, we lived together and I'd come home and, I may have just beat the number 2 ranked guy in the country and he'd be like, yes, so what, go wash the dishes. So, but, our Penn State Booster Club, Connie and Monty Christensen, I remember my freshman year when I lost, I went to an event with our boosters afterwards and I was miserable. I didn't want to see anybody, didn't want to be around anybody. And, we got finished eating and I was just sitting there moping, feeling sorry for myself. And, someone ordered me a piece of chocolate cream pie. And I swear my face, the smile just grew. I went ear to ear. I was so happy to have this. And then every year when, they would have Booster Club events and stuff, someone would always, and Connie Christian would always make sure that there was a chocolate cream pie there. So, little things like that made a big difference. But Sandy Meyer was our academic advisor and she was like my second mom. And, so, so many people that I could think of that had a difference on that. And, Coach Lorenzo was a huge factor. Not, he had retired my senior year. And so he was a person, even to this day, that I would always reach out to for guidance and for opinion and, just to get a check on things. So, but yeah, so many people during that time.
You were really active as a student on campus. As if you didn't have enough time tied up in the classroom, tied up on the mat and training. You were also a really visible leader on campus. Talk about some of the other things that you were involved off the mat at Penn State.
Yeah, it was again another blessing, because I was fortunate that I had the opportunity to have my family, my wrestling family, have that commitment, but I also had an opportunity to kind of get away from it, and involved with a lot of the organizations. Skull and Bones, Lion's Paw were two of the more significant ones that I was with, and being connected with other leaders around campus. Athletes, sometimes we get in our own bubble, and there's nothing wrong with it, but we focus so much on our sport that we kind of lose sight of other things that are going on. So being involved with these two organizations helped me to see what was going on in the fraternities and sororities, what was going on in student life, what was going on in Lion ambassadors, what's going on in homecoming. And it was just an eye-opening experience to be able to see what other people are going through, but also to be engaged and be connected. And a lot of times athletes don't get to participate because their sport takes so much time, and then whatever other time they have left over for social after school and their sport. But it was a great opportunity, because you got to learn and you got to be able to budget, and we had our priorities, but it was still like, hey, when Thon comes around, we want to be involved, we want to be engaged, and not just kind of checking the box to say, hey, we did this, but it was like, we really want to get involved, because the cause itself is a great motivator. But when the people that are committing to a cause, when you have a relationship with them, it becomes more meaningful and becomes stronger connection. So yeah, it was definitely a balancing act, but making time for those priorities. But when I look back, and some of my best relationships obviously are my teammates and people that were connected to the wrestling program, but also people from those leadership groups, people from the student organizations. And some people weren't affiliated with anything officially, but they had that opportunity to be able to be connected, go to an event, you meet somebody and still stay connected. So it was really, really nice to have that separation, but also still being a way to impact.
Absolutely. You talk about the cause, and it struck me as I was doing some research. You were also and really consistently throughout your time, starting at Penn State and beyond, you've been the voice for the student athlete, whether it's fellow student athletes on the advisory board when you were here. But talk about that responsibility of kind of articulating the concerns, the needs, the kind of being the voice of fellow student athletes while you were here at Penn State, and then on Olympic committees and beyond that.
Yeah. And I go back to my faith. I mean, service is such an important foundational belief of mine. And from elementary school, where class rep and student government, through middle school and high school. So I just always was involved in. And what I always, and I guess I don't know if I had a specific purpose, like, okay, I want to do this, I want to do that, but I always felt like if there's somebody out there that needed some support, there was someone out there that their voice was being unheard, if someone was out there that needed a way to be able to communicate and maybe didn't have the confidence or have the ability, or whatever word you want to put in there, to be able to do something about it, I wanted to be able to help. And it was just one of those things, because I go back, especially for wrestling, I started late. I started in 7th grade, by a lot of measures. And I had so many people that helped me along the way. And then, like I said, when I got to Penn State, I had people that helped me along the way, and my international career. So I was consistently being helped by other people that didn't have to. I mean, a coach is a coach, and they're responsible for doing that. But so many of my coaches went above and beyond. So many of my workout partners went above and beyond. So, I just had that cycle where someone helped me and I was able to help somebody else, and it just kept going. And
right.
So just through every level, that was kind of the foundation that I had, in service. And like I said, when you go to your faith side and, talk about how, Jesus was our ultimate servant, giving his life for us. So the little bit that I can do to emulate that by just committing my time, my effort, resources, is something that, again, I don't know if through my whole life that was the preeminent thought, but looking back, I can see how that played out in the cycle of it. And but it was always important. And through high school, through college, just being a representative and being able to share, being able to give a voice, or give input. And one of the biggest things that I felt like I was able to do is to provide perspective, especially when it came to the NCAA, when I was on the student athlete advisory board at Penn State, and then was at the Big Ten, and then at the national level, because so many people don't understand the process, right? What's the legislative process? How are rules made? How are decisions made? I remember we used to think that the NCAA was a bunch of old guys sitting in a closed room smoking cigars and making rules to make our lives miserable. But then when I got in the system and realized, well, it's college professors and athletic directors and faculty athletic reps, and they're bringing stuff from their campuses, from their coaches, from their administration to the group, and everyone's discussing it and trying to figure it out. It's like being able to see that side of it really helped me to share with other people, because information is power, and I think that was a big part of it. So every level, just having that perspective and helping people recognize that it's not just what you might see on the surface, but there are other things going on, whether you like it or not. Sometimes they're not good, sometimes they're not what you want, but recognizing how things work kind of help things go a little bit.
This is the Penn State Alumni Association's Coffee Hour. I'm Paul Clifford, and I'm joined by the 1997 Hodge Trophy winner and current head coach of California's Olympic Regional Training Center, Kerry McCoy. Let's talk about that. Because you were the first person, first Penn Stater to bring the Hodge Trophy back home to Happy Valley. Now we know we've seen some of those in Happy Valley since then, but you were kind of you were the first, you were the trailblazer, if you will. For those of you who don't know about the Hodge Trophy, think Heisman Trophy for wrestling. It goes to the top wrestler in collegiate wrestling each year. And Kerry, you were the 1997 recipient of that. Talk a little bit about not only being a national champion that year, being an All-American that year, but being held up by everybody in the wrestling community as the best.
Yeah, it was a very humbling experience. And, we had a pretty good run. I got to the national tournament, and they were amazing guys in the tournament from all over. And then throughout the year, had some good matches, some battles with some top guys. So, there were a lot of people out there, and Lincoln McElravy was the outstanding wrestler at the NCAA tournament. Mark Ironside was the Big Ten Wrestler of the Year. So those are two of the other contenders that were out there. And obviously there were a bunch of others. So it was just, process wise, they brought the trophy, and I had no idea, but at our senior banquet, Mike Chapman from Win Magazine, he had talked to the coaches, and they presented to me at our senior banquet, and I had no clue. It's not like it is today where they have a ballot and they have the finalists, and it was just, it was the third year of the award. TJ Jaworski won the first one in 95. He was 3-time national champ for North Carolina. Then Les Gutches won in 96, 2-time national champ for Oregon State. Yeah. So it was just kind of one of those things that it was still kind of new, and there wasn't a big fanfare about it. So I was sitting at the table, and they surprised it, brought it in. So it was a pretty awesome experience. And then the tradition is you get to get it presented at halftime of a football game. And we talked about Michigan earlier. It was actually at the Michigan football game the following year that they presented the trophy, and got there to be out there in the center of the field, 100,000 fans out there. So the presentation of the award itself was an amazing experience. But you look back and you see all the great wrestlers that had competed that year, and through the 5 years, I got to know so many people from different schools, and to be tagged, because the event or the award itself, it's about competitive success, but it has other things in dominance, perseverance, character, and all those things that play into being a good person and not just good athletes. So being recognized with it for the athletic achievements was great, but also the other things that go with it. And it was pretty special. And a couple of years ago, because we have the trophy, on display, I guess, try to have a few things laying around. And some of the guys from the team back in Maryland had come by the house, and they saw the trophy. They're like, wait, coach won the Hodge? And it's just one of those things, right? That it was so long ago that most of them weren't even born when it had happened. But so it's a nice thing to talk about, and a nice thing to have on the resume, because a lot of people helped me get there.
Well, and look, I mean, you coached a lot of guys who had that within their grasp, right? I think of Sheptock, I think of Asper. I mean, those guys competed at that level where that would be, I'm sure that would be something they would notice when they walked into the McCoy household.
Yeah, for sure.
You talk about the presentation being understated. But then you think about, like, I was in the Bryce Jordan Center for the Ohio State match. Now what is it? Two seasons ago, and you're standing out there with the other Penn Staters that have brought the Hodge Trophy home. When you got it at your wrestling banquet, would you have ever imagined that you would be standing in the middle of a 17,000 seat arena with three or four other guys holding multiples of those trophies?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would say initially, probably not initially, but then it's on the other side of, well, I would have hoped to, right? I wouldn't want to be the only Penn Stater to win this award. And, when it came out of winning multiples, I mean, again, you think about the Heisman Trophy, there aren't too many people that have won multiple Heisman trophies. So,
Right.
But then I knew that my teammates through my time, I had a lot of great people that had the opportunity to do it. And so I was thinking that our program is on a trajectory. So eventually there are going to be more. And it was just awesome. I mean, it's kind of funny with that Ohio State match. I read some of the comments on social media, and, some people were like, who's that old guy on the left? Right. It's like, yeah, because, definitely a new era. And those guys did. I mean, I think the three of them combined, Bo, Zane, and David, I think the three of them combined lost less matches in their career than I lost in, the first semester, my first year. So it's pretty impressive what they've been able to do. And, I anticipate a few more of those trophies coming before too long.
You mentioned Zane and Bo and David, who have also brought the Hodge back. When you think of Penn State wrestling history now, who are some of the wrestlers that kind of past or present you enjoy watching the most? Like who's the guys who are the guys whose style kind of was the style that really resonated with you? Now, this is besides Matt Hardy. Okay,
Yeah,
let's not bring Matt Hardy into Belfont great Matt Hardy.
Yeah. So I'd say, I mean, obviously those guys that we talked about, they really set the tone, set the pace. One of, I'd say two of the guys that really kind of got overshadowed a little bit, and, not much because they were three-time national champs, but I really enjoyed watching Jason Nolf, and I really enjoyed watching Ed Ruth. I mean, those are two guys that, obviously because of their teammates and the people that were around them, they were so great, the people that were around them, that it was like, okay, they were, a kind of a second thought when you're looking at that. But when you look at what they did with their competitive careers, it was impressive, at the same level as those guys. And I know, the last year when they were talking about co-Hodge winners with Bo and with Jason. So, those are two guys. Jeff Prescott was one of the guys that was, I don't know if you say the poster child, but it was like, that was the guy that we kind of looked up to coming up, because he was a two-time national champ. He had a tie to the program. He was kind of still around the area when I was coming through, but, going back and watching what he did, one of the techniques that he used, I picked it up early. Somebody taught it to me, and, had a lot of success with. So Jeff Prescott, I mentioned Dan Mayo, again, he was from our rival high school, so got to see him. Greg Linski is another one that I think about, just hard-nosed, really pushed himself, had some really good guys in front of him that stopped him from winning a national championship. Andy Motter, first two-time national champ. He's one that you go back and you look, and there's not a whole lot of video because of the time, but just the stories of his work ethic and his commitment that are really special. And, I mean, I'm gonna probably catch a little heat for saying this, but one of my favorite Penn State wrestlers, when you think about it, is John Fritz, because he was my coach. Coming from Bethlehem, everyone thought he was going to go to Lehigh. He had to battle. I mean, the number of people that he had beaten, I think it was something like he had beaten 7 national champs through his career. But he was that guy that was there for you anytime, and, got to wrestle for him, got to coach with him, and still have a great relationship with him today. But, he was just scrappy, and he's a little, just constantly on you. And so he'd come to practice, he'd grab a hold of you, just like, Fritzy, get off of me, so full of energy. So I really enjoyed, as an athlete, as a coach, and as a person, he's definitely one of my favorites. But yeah, there's a lot. I mean, I could sit here and go down the roster, but I say right there, like I say, Jason and Ed are two that, easily could have been Hodge Trophy winners, easily could have been outstanding wrestlers at the NCAA tournament, and, all the different things that were out there.
We do this show every Thursday night called Football Letter Live. And last week we had the staff from the Penn Stater magazine on, and they had the top 100 athletes in Penn State history. And I retold the story of the conversation, the absolutely ridiculous conversation that we had around the office around Penn State wrestling. And someone was using the word only in front of only one national championship, right? I mean, it's it's amazing. It's just amazing the quality of wrestlers that have come through the program, and those guys that you mentioned are certainly the ones that we talk about, right? But it's just it's a standard at a different level than a lot of other schools, than a lot of other sports. And so it's hard for me to look at your screen and not notice the Olympic rings over your shoulder there. Talk about what it was like to represent your country on that stage at the Olympics, two-time Olympian. Talk about your Olympic experience.
Yeah, and that's a product placement, right? If I was getting advertising, I could do I could be an influencer here and put some ads in there. But it's an amazing experience. And when we think about the Olympics, right, the first thing you think about is competition, right? Trying to be an Olympic gold medalist, and that's important. And obviously we strive for that. You want to be the best you can be. But when I talk about my Olympic experience, the thing that I really emphasized was the opening ceremonies, because yes, we're all going there to try to be the best that we can be in pursuit of Olympic gold medal. But at that point, and that's pictures from the opening ceremonies in 2004. It's not about who's going to win. It's not like a race to see who can get to the stadium the fastest, or
right,
who can take the most pictures. You're there to represent yourself, your country, your family, everything that you put into under the Olympic flag. And for that, a couple of hours, it didn't matter if you were 8-time Olympian, if you had a bunch of medals, if you were, a professional athlete making multi-million-dollar deals, right, you were there under the Olympic flag. And then for Team USA, you were there under the United States flag. And there's nothing more powerful in my experience to go through, because I remember walking, especially in 2000, and take pictures, and you take pictures with the stars and NBA stars. And I remember one of the highlights, I got a picture with Venus and Serena Williams. And, this is way back in 2000 before they right, were what they are, but still, being able to have that and just recognize that it was like, we're Team USA, like we're going out to represent the United States, and, walking in and having conversations. I remember Allen Houston was on the team for basketball, and I was walking with him. And this was around the time when Patrick Ewing was, big Knicks star, and, was he going to play? Was he going to retire? And I remember having a conversation with Allen Houston about what Patrick Ewing was going to do. I'm like, that's something that would, for most people, it would never happen. And even in athletic sense, but, we're there. It was just like, we're teammates. And in 2004, I remember, LeBron James was young, and, having him be in the Olympic Village and be around, and, just seeing these type of people, these superstars, Tim Duncan and Andy Roddick and, Martina Navratilova, like all these people that I got to kind of interact with during that opening ceremony experience really typifies what the Olympics mean. Now, obviously, you get done and everyone goes back and trains and, try to pursue that goal, but it's not just the goal that you're pursuing. It's everything you put in to get to that. Once an Olympian, always an Olympian is the saying. And it's true, because no one can take that away from you. And, so when I think about my experience, I think about those things of the people, the interaction, going into the opening ceremonies, going to the stadium and seeing 100,000 people just cheering and screaming and, under the Olympic flag. But it's like, they're cheering for you. They're cheering for your representation. They're cheering for you to be there and to give your best. And, it's important to have that experience in other things. But like I said, every 4 years, it's unmatched with that. So I look back to that, and competitively, I didn't perform the way that I wanted to. I had expectations to be a gold medalist. I had, opportunities that was, really close, but you take out the competitive experience, which is a big part of it. But, having that, my first games, I had, 6 or 7 family members there with a chance to go over. In 2004, I did some fundraisers. I, had a lot of support. I actually had to get, 20 family members, got full expense paid trips to Athens, through fundraising. And, I raised over 40 grand. And, 2004, I did some fundraisers. I actually had to get, 20 family members, got full expense paid trips to Athens through fundraising. And, I raised over 40 grand. And, I raised over 40 grand. And, 2004, I did some fundraisers. I back then, obviously it's a lot of money anytime, but to pay for it, we got my family, they got over there. We got them hotel rooms, we got their travel, they all got cell phones so they can communicate with each other. So it was like, full expense paid for over, a big number of my family to go.
Sure.
And that just shows, again, people weren't necessarily just donating because they thought, oh, he's going to win a gold medal, but it was that experience. And so those are the things that I look into when I think about my Olympic experience. And, and then to be able to come back and coach team in 08 was, being on the other side was really special. So, 2016 was a little bit different experience overall, but I've been to 5 of the last 6, and obviously next year, a little bit different experience I'd hope to. And I remember Ken Lacrosse, who was an Olympic champ, he said, once you go to the games, you'll never miss another one. And I'd gone 5 straight, missed 2016 and want to get back, but it's such an incredible experience to be there as an athlete, as a coach, and as a fan. So I'm looking forward to more opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely. And you talk about the fundraising that you had to do. That's no surprise to those of us who are around the wrestling community. The wrestling community is such a small, tight-knit family, right? And as you get higher and higher in the levels, right, it becomes smaller and smaller. But what people don't realize is while you're wearing different uniforms for the different colleges when you're competing in the NCAA realm, in the off season, you're going to the same wrestling tournaments, right? You're with those same families. You see, it's just a different gym, but the same people in all these different gyms all around the country. And when the 6 or 7 minutes on the mat is over, right? You're going out and you're grabbing lunch with them, or you're staying in the same hotel and you're jumping in the swimming pool with them, right? And so it's this community that rallies around each other, and they had to rally around each other. And you were a big part of this when wrestling was jeopardized in the Olympics. The Olympics were considering dropping wrestling as a sport. But talk a little bit about the community and about the campaign to keep wrestling in the Olympics.
Yeah, it's great. And one thing I could say, a great story that captures the essence of that competitor. I guess the story of my getting to Penn State was a part of it. That was a high school rival that, tried to get me there. But my senior year, I wrestled the NCAA finals against a guy named Stephen Neal. And, anybody that follows, pro football, they probably know he's 3-time Super Bowl winner for the New England Patriots. He was wrestled Cal State Bakersfield, 2-time national champ. And so he was a sophomore. I was a senior. I beat him in the finals. And that night after the tournament in the hotel lobby, people kind of mingle around after the NCAA tournament, and his parents and my parents, we hung out for like 2 hours, just chopping it up. And this is a guy, I just beat for the national championship. He lost the national championship finals, and we sat there and it wasn't about wrestling. It was just about being in that community. Like we talk about, fast forward, we wrestled a bunch of times, and, he won a world championship, beat me, to make the team in 99. I beat him to make the Olympic team. I beat, so we went back and forth. He went on to do great things in NFL. So we always kind of stayed connected, but it wasn't, he was in California, he was in New England, I was in Pennsylvania. And my wife, now girlfriend at the time, had a friend that was a big Patriots fan. So, so I reached out and I said, I shot Steve an email, gave him a call and said, hey, I've got a friend of a friend who is a big fan of the Patriots, and they're having an event. They wanted to get some memorabilia for it. And without hesitation, he sent autographed posters, he sent pictures, he sent, just a whole swag kit. And, this is a few years after, we had been finished competing. And, no question. And then a few years later, when I was coaching at Maryland, we went up to New England and we were competing against Harvard, Brown, and I think Boston University before they dropped their program. And we had an off day. So it's like, hey, let's go by the Patriots Stadium. And, Steve was there, and he, came by and met the guys, and, had an interaction with us. And, it was like, okay, I called him, and he was like deathly ill. He had the flu, and he was like, he hadn't been out of bed in 2 daes, but he got out of bed to come in to meet our guys, to see us. And the funny thing, this was, I can't remember what year it is, but, we were text messaging back and forth, and I would send him a text, and it would take him like 6 or 7 minutes to respond. And I'm like, okay, maybe he's busy. And he comes in. He had one of the old Nokia phones that was like, that you had to do the T9 texting. So for him to text, he had to go, 333, hit the button to send it. So, and I was like, you should have just called me. He's like, well, you were texting me, so I wanted to figure you were comfortable. So just, so that's just kind of the guy he is. But it all came from our competitive time together, but we were brought together. And I remember, the last point with it we battled back and forth, and, he made the world team in '99, and I was at the world championships, and I was like, hey, this is Team USA, anything I can do to help you. And in 2004, he called me, right before the national finals. And he's like, hey, go out there and kick some butt. Right. So we had that competitive rivalry, but we also had that friendship, and it lasted this day. And I talked to him a few weeks ago, so we keep in touch. And, so that community is really the big foundation. And then when we, talk about keeping wrestling in the Olympics, it was that type of community that brought so many people together. And, typically when you're looking at, wrestling, it's programs that you have to raise money for, and you have to, have different challenges. And it was all hands on deck. So it was financial, it was influence, it was, making adjustments on the leadership and the rules, and, making a commitment to women's wrestling. So it was like, there were so many pillars, and we had so many people from so many different facets across the world to get on board. And, it was a pretty intense few months. But I remember, and like I said, I was at church the day of the announcement, and I was sitting in, and I mean, I want to be faithful, I want to pay attention and all, but I was jittering. So I knew the announcement, service starts at 11 o'clock, and the announcement was supposed to come at like 11:15. And I was just kind of sitting there. I was like, I can't. So I had to go out in the lobby of the church and listen to the interview. And, but it was kind of awesome too, because to be in church and in a place of worship when the decision, I was just like, thank you, Lord, for keeping us around. But, that community is so important. And, without that type of community, a lot of things that we do in the sport would not happen.
It's funny. I just kept thinking throughout that whole process, don't mess with Dan Gable. I mean, if you don't want to mess with him. And ultimately, sure. I mean, he carried a lot of the water on that. And it's so good. It just wouldn't be the same to have an Olympics without Olympic wrestling. I think it should be on TV more so that we can watch it and enjoy it. But that's a whole other
We'll
conversation.
We'll get there.
Absolutely. Hey, you built 2 programs at Stanford and Maryland. So after your time on the mat as a competitor was over, talk about the shift in your mindset and thinking about, okay, now we're going to go to, you had your experience at Lehigh, you had your experience as an assistant coach at Penn State, and then they turned the keys of the car over to you at Stanford. Talk about building the program at Stanford and then at Maryland, and then taking it to the Big Ten, and all of those, kind of what your mindset was as a coach.
Yeah. What I mentioned before, right? Service. Coaches are some of the ultimate servants, right? Because you have to sacrifice so much, and it's the work-life balance of a coach is definitely something that we all have to get better at. But so the idea, they got the opportunity, and we know Stanford has had a ton of success on their athletic program through the years, and I had some connections. So when I was on the NCAA Athlete Advisory Council, I sat on the management council, and Ted Leland was the athletic director for Stanford. He was on the council. Patricia Miranda, who graduated from Stanford, was on world teams with me, and I got to know her really well. So I had a connection with the university. So when the opportunity came, I contacted Patricia, had a long talk with her. She put me in touch with Steve Buddy, who was the former coach, and just got to learn a little bit more about it. But the greatness that existed in the walls of the hallowed halls of Stanford was something that, again, not just athletic success, but overall commitment to excellence academically, socially, athletically. And when you got around, you saw that there were so many great people that were pursuing it. So it was a great opportunity for me, to start off, but to really learn from some of the best in the business. And that's something that I always do, is try to learn, try to put myself in a position to improve and get better. So that experience, and you obviously, being a young coach, you make some mistakes, you make some poor judgments and things that you think are right, and you look back and it's like, what was I thinking? But the goal was for me to just help these young men become better members of society, and along the way, have some wins on the wrestling mat, and do well academically, but ultimately it was about making good people, right? Having people that are going to contribute to our society and helping our society be better. So that was always my foundation, my philosophy as a coach. As I said before, I had so many people pour into me when I was an athlete. So I had a lot of philosophical things to add in, my high school coaches, my college coaches, international coaches. So, trying to build my coaching philosophy, I can't take the full credit because I got it from so many different people. I take a piece from here and a piece from there. And this is how this training went. This is how this person dealt with discipline. This is how this person dealt with recruiting. And I'd put it all together. But the foundation, as I said, service-minded orientation, but really just trying to make sure that these young men were going to be better, members of society, and they're going to go on to be successful. And, not many people in the sport, percentage-wise, after they're done collegiately, go on to pursue Olympic, world championships. So, they were going to have to do something else. And, the measure of what they do down the road, yeah, they could have won a bunch of matches. They could have had a lot of titles. But, the key is, what are they doing next? How are they contributing to society? How are they as a father? How are they as a husband? And that's what I try to do. And, I definitely wasn't perfect. I'm sure I made a lot of mistakes, but doing that was where my goal was. And, when you have those things in place, the success comes a little bit, it's not easy, but, if you're doing all the right things, the success level is a little bit more attainable. So our guys that were committed to it, had success on and off the mats. And at Stanford, I remember my first year, we went to a national tournament, I had an All-American. So I'm a first-year head coach. I got an All-American. I'm really excited. I'm thinking I'm going to get back. There's going to be a ticker tape parade and everybody's going to be celebrating, and not in a negative way, but it's just like, when I went in, it was business as usual. And I'm like, okay, not in a negative way, but just like, hey, this is what it's expected, right? To be successful at the highest level. So recognize your successes, but don't dwell on, don't hang on it, because you got to continue to, pursue your goals. So, so we chipped away, and we had more All-Americans. We had a national semifinals, we finished top 20. And, and then I think that just that momentum of going, Matt Gentry was a national champ 2 years before I got here. And then Tanner Gardner was the first 3-time All-American that we had. And then, you go through, and now you look at, they've had a couple of multiple All-Americans. Nick Mujistega was in the national finals. And then, they have some more people going. Same thing at Maryland. Maryland had a successful history and tradition, really dominating the ACC. So the first few years there, we talked about, Coach Santoro left me with a great group of guys, and philosophically we're really close. And when we got there, I said, Coach Santoro got the guys and the program to believe that it was possible to be successful at the highest level. And then my job was just to get them there. And in the time we had 13 All-Americans. We had Jimmy Sheptock was a national finalist. Hudson Taylor was a 3-time All-American. Jimmy was a 2-time, and then we finished with Yusuf Hamida was a 2-time All-American. So we had a lot of guys plugged in. And again, the one thing that I was most proud about my experience at Maryland, and at Stanford as well, but with the more time at Maryland, was every athlete that came in, that graduated, that finished in our program, graduated and was working, right? So I used to joke and say, we didn't have anybody, sitting at home on the couch, putting their name on the orange juice, making sure mom and dad didn't drink their orange juice or eat their snacks. So they were, some guys had to, graduate school, and some guys were training, but for the most part, everybody got their degree and they were working. They were, building a life for themselves. So I think that was really made me proud about my time at Maryland. We always could win more matches, but winning in life was really important. And I think we put a lot of people that were positive members of society through my coaching time.
So what a lot of people might not realize, we talked about the coaching community and the wrestling community being really small, but you and Cale Sanderson were actually teammates. In 2003, you were world team teammates. 2004, you were Olympic teammates. Talk a little bit about Cale and what he's been able to do at your alma mater.
Yeah, so Cale's obviously, it speaks for itself what the program's been able to do in the last couple of years, but really taking it back. As a teammate, he really, he was quiet and reserved, just like he does right now. So what I always say about Cale is Cale, right? You don't ever see Cale trying to be somebody that he's not. You don't see him trying to fit in the mold. You don't see him trying, he's going to do what he's going to do. And it's great because that's that genuine, character and that internal fortitude that everyone needs to be. It's just like, don't try to be something that you're not. And as an athlete, in 04, 03 and 04, he was kind of one of the younger guys and I was one of the older guys. And, he was always around, being a more reserved person, it would have been real easy for him to kind of keep to himself and not really interact. But that's one of the things that made those teams so great, 2003, 2004, is that we were really close as a group. And, the cliche word when it comes to teams is family. We really had that family atmosphere in those 2 years. And that's why we were really successful. So we play video games together. We play cards together. Obviously we train hard and work together and go to see movies. And, it wasn't 24/7, but Cale was always willing to be a part of the group and hang out and get involved. And that's important. I think that when you look at the teams that he's putting together now, that same type of family, that same type of community exists. And, it's important. So, fierce competitor. I had the misfortune of coaching against him a few times, and it wasn't a whole lot of fun to see what he did. We got close. I was telling someone the other day, John Trenz wrestled him 3 or 4 times in that year. And we got close. I think the closest match was like 4-1. We wrestled them in the All-Star match, but it was just, again, not being a fan, you got to be focused on being a competitor. But when you look back and see what he did as an athlete, and then to be a teammate with him, so being in, the opposing corner, being in a teammate, and then, being back to the opposing corner, had a lot of different experience with him. And he's always been gracious. And even, 2 weeks ago, we had a competition, got to spend time with him and chatting with him. So it's a great relationship and, really excited for what he's doing. And for a long time, being that I was competing, when we were in the ACC, it wasn't as close. Then we moved to the Big Ten. It was like, okay, well, I really can't cheer for my alma mater. I can't be happy too much because that means, but now it's a lot nicer to be able to kick back and really cheer for what they're doing and exciting for what the future holds.
I remember you coming to Happy Valley a number of times as a coach, and the largest ovation in Rec Hall was for the opposing team's coach on those occasions. And so it didn't matter what colors you were wearing in Rec Hall, the Penn Staters still showed you a lot of love when you come home to Happy Valley. I want to touch on your work with the Black Wrestling Association, especially in light of this summer and everything that has gone on with the George Floyd being murdered, and then social justice and issues of social injustice that have just endured throughout the generations in this country, but really being brought to light once again this summer. Talk about your work with the Black Wrestling Association and your work with helping student athletes find their voice in these moments.
Yeah. And, there's the short story with everything that happened this summer. Nate Jackson, who was an All-American in Indiana, and Kyvan Gatson, who was national champ for Iowa State, on the national team scene, when all that happened, they started supporting each other and calling other people. And, after a while, there were a bunch of Black men that got together and, just kind of, again, what's going on in society? How is this going on? Why is it still happening? And we supported each other and we got together. And after, those calls, it became like, okay, well, we've been supporting each other. We kind of get together and share our feelings. So like we need to do something more. And I shouldn't say we, because it was Nate and Kyvan that really had the idea to start something. And then I was fortunate to be brought in, to make the association. And, it's really to inspire, to connect, to empower is really our foundation. But it's to give people, Black wrestlers in particular, but in general, right, the opportunity to learn, to grow, and to develop. And, what we focus on is making sure that, young Black wrestlers, old Black wrestlers, officials, coaches, everybody has a resource that they can connect. And, not in a situation where it's trying to be, something that we're not, but really just knowing that, that young junior high athlete that comes up, right? You mentioned Dan Gable, right? Everyone knows Dan Gable, but there are a lot of Black athletes that, you can aspire to, but a lot of kids may not know. They may not know who Kenny Monday is, being the first Black Olympic champion, or Kevin Jackson being an Olympic champ, or Lee Kemp, first three-time world champion, right? So being able to share that there are other people, because maybe you don't identify with a Dan Gable, a Cale Sanderson, a John Smith, because, you're from New York City or you're from Chicago, and, your background's different. So to be able to look and see that, yeah, there are people that look like me that are successful at a high level in this sport. Because you hear a lot of times, especially, some of the older wrestlers, they talk about where wrestling wasn't thought about as being a sport that, that Black athletes participated in. It was football, it was basketball, baseball. So knowing that, it is an opportunity to go when you're a coach and getting resources to be able to help you be successful when you're an official, so just every level to elevate Black wrestlers and Black athletes. But, the organization isn't only, for Black athletes. It reaches out, and our board has diversity in it. So you want to really focus on really pursuing opportunities to give our young boys and girls, men and women, opportunity to, to have a voice, to have a connection to people that look like you, but also stay connected to people that don't look like you, and really increase that conversation. Because ultimately, the more interaction, more knowledge, more connection we have, the better we are going to be as a society. So that's our goal, is really to, to connect, to empower, to really focus on making sure that young, old, middle age, whatever, know that there are places you can go to get support and to really be able to, to celebrate the diversity that is in our sport.
We are coming up on our hour together. So many questions that I wanted to get to that we'll have to save for another time. I do want to touch on 2018 named a distinguished alumnus of Penn State. What does that honor mean to you, to be recognized by your alma mater?
Oh, it's I mean, again, similar to what I mentioned about, making an Olympic team. It's very, very similar to that experience. And I think, I told at my speech when I got the award, I said, I'm getting these calls from the Alumni Association. I'm thinking they're just trying to get money from me. So
right.
I didn't have any expectation. And, when I finally got, when we got connected, I was like, oh my gosh, this is unbelievable. And you start looking through the list, especially the class that I was connected with. I'm like, wow, like there's no way I deserve this recognition, because there's so many great people doing great things. So just to be recognized, it's such an amazing thing. And, Penn State is so special to me. I wouldn't be where I am today without my experience at Penn State. So for them to recognize me for what I've done, in which, I look back and I just, I did what I love. I took people down, and, I got away from people, and,
right.
I taught people things. So, I think it's obviously it's significant, but, it was just something that I've been blessed to be able to do. And so, and I mean, obviously you can see just, the excitement, the honor, and it's so amazing. And I'll be forever humbled and forever grateful for that experience, because, for a place that means so much to me, to recognize and, to acknowledge. And you mentioned earlier, right, when I come back as an opposing coach, I always got a great welcome. People, even if they are, I have told people, like, when Jimmy was wrestling Ed in the finals, I had people from Penn State that told me that they were torn, right? Because they wanted me to win and, coach a national championship, but obviously they wanted Penn State to win. And just the fact that people were thinking in that way just shows how special a place it is, and how meaningful my experience was. And a little bit of that is so that I had some positive effect on the school and the people there. So so it's awesome. It's humbling, and I'm so forever grateful for that recognition.
Yeah, it's almost a shame. Any other wrestler from any other school and the whole arena would have been behind Jimmy that night. But because he was up against Eddie, it's the way it goes.
Just the way it goes. Just the way it goes.
Yeah. Let's have a little bit of fun here. Your favorite class at Penn State?
I'd say I think it was math one. It was my freshman year. I took a math class, and I had actually placed, I think it was math 129. I don't know if they still have the same numbers, but I had placed in the higher math. And Sandy, again, we talked about, she had mentioned I hadn't done math because I'd finished all my exams, and I had done math in high school for a few months, and she had recommended I take the lower math to be ready for the higher math. And I took that class, and I did pretty well. But what makes it fun is I had one of my classmates that would consistently perform better than me in exams. And the only all-nighter that I ever pulled in college was for my math final. And I did better than them on the exam. So I was like, I'm never going to do another all-nighter, but that was a one time. So I think that really sticks out as me, but I had some great classes there, but I would say that's the one from my freshman year that jumped up.
That's great. Your favorite spot on campus?
So again, this is going to sound cheesy, right? But the Nittany Lion statue, it just, it's so symbolic and so meaningful. And just like anytime you get there, and it's just like, even just walking by and looking at it, but every trip that I made back since, obviously you go and you stand on the line to take your picture with it and to be able to share that with my family. My wife's a Penn Stater, and, our kids, get back to take family pictures. And, when we were there for the Distinguished Alumni, we got, my parents, her parents, my grandmother, so it was just like so many people were in that photo. So it was awesome. But yeah, I'd say Nittany Lion statue.
You've traveled the world representing our country, representing Penn State. What's your most unusual "we are" moment?
I was going through an airport, and the funniest thing is, right, sometimes if you're out of the flow of it, you don't catch it.
Right.
So I was on an airport a few years ago, and I forgot where it's coming. It was an international trip, and I was coming back, going through customs, and I don't know how, maybe someone had overheard me on the plane or something, but going through customs and going through and we're getting through there, and like from not too distant but far away, I heard "we are," and it was like, what is going on? And and then I heard it again because I thought maybe I misheard it. So then I was just like, Penn State, and somebody, a couple of people, and I can't remember what it was, but a couple people were over there and they started clapping and cheering. It's like, so I don't know if they were talking to me or if they were talking amongst themselves, but yeah, just like one of those things, like, where did this come from? But you hear it and you kind of get caught off guard. But so I'd say, yeah, that was one of my weird, coming through customs from an international trip and having someone yell at was, but at the same time, it was awesome, right? So
absolutely. Your favorite flavor of creamery ice cream?
I'm a little bit boring here. I just like cookies and cream.
Okay.
I think, I don't go into all the fancy stuff. Just kind of a regular cookies and cream guy.
Yeah, Matt Hardy said you can eat all the ice cream you want as a heavyweight, not as a 190 pounder. So
yeah, definitely.
Kerry, your accomplishments in the past, your accomplishments today, your accomplishments in the future continue to swell thy fame of dear old state. And for that, we're truly grateful. Thanks for joining us and sharing your story on Coffee Hour this morning.
I appreciate it, Paul. It was awesome. Anytime that get an opportunity to chop it up with some Penn Staters, I love it. So feel free to invite me another time. And yeah, this is awesome. Thank you.
I appreciate you and appreciate you joining. And I appreciate everybody who joined to watch us. If you're a member of the Alumni Association, thank you for your support. If you're not, what are you waiting for? Go online right now and go to alumni.psu.edu, and you too can become a member of the world's largest alumni association. Tune in tomorrow night, 8 o'clock, for Football Letter Live with John Black. And thank you for all you do for the university, for the glory, and for the future. We are
Penn State.
Excellent.